Many of you have asked how we can get more money, and where does our school money even come from? This presentation should provide you with a brief overview as to where we get our money and how you as a staff can help contribute to that process. Here in Texas, schools are funded by the Foundation School Program. State and local funding is administered through this program by the Texas Education Agency. Let's look at the two main components of funding: operations funding and facilities funding. Within operations funding, there are three main sources. First is Tier 1. This is your basic allotment. This is basic level of funding with allotments for regular education, special education, career and technical education, gifted education, bilingual, compensatory education, etc. Also included in the basic allotment under Tier 1 is transportation allotment and a new facilities allotment. Secondly is Tier 2, which supplements the Tier 1 basic funding allotment. We'll go into greater detail on how that's figured a little bit later. Third is revenue at the compressed tax rate. The second major component of funding is for facilities. First, there's instructional facilities, which is money for the bond repayments and lease purchase agreements, and then existing debt allotment, which is funds for debt service payments on bonded debt. Let's look at our Tier 1 basic allotment a little bit closer. The basic allotment is comprised of two formulas. First, the district's compressed tax rate is divided by the state's maximum compressed tax rate. This gives us a quotient. That quotient is then multiplied by 4,765. Second formula is to figure out the average daily attendance, or ADA, which will later be added to the second formula. To figure out the ADA, the total days students come to school is divided by the number of instructional days. For charter schools and some districts, this is figured out every 6 weeks and uploaded to the state. So what does this mean to you as a teacher? First, it means that our average daily attendance is really impacted by what you guys do in the classroom. Keep kids engaged and eager to come to school. Report kids who are frequently absent to the team, to the counselor, to an administrator, to somebody or some people who can really help figure out maybe what's bothering these kids. Maybe there's something outside of school that's contributing to their absenteeism. And thirdly, apart from the rigor and the relevance that we bring to our curriculum every day, relationships, that third R, is very important. Our students need to feel safe, wanted, and important. And the more that we can do that, the more we can bring them to school. And the more that they're at school, the better our funding will be. Before we talk too much more about the money that we're receiving, let's first talk about where does this money even come from. Districts have to fund their portion of these Tier 1 entitlements, and this is called their local fund assignment. The amount of tax collections from the compressed tax rate, or 1, the lower amount of the two, for every $100 of property valuation using the preceding year's property values is what comprises the local fund assignment. If the LFA is greater than the Tier 1 entitlement, we are budget balanced. Now that we've looked at where the money's coming from on the local fund assignment, let's look at our Tier 2 funding. This is Tier 2, which is still part of our operational funds. This is a guaranteed funding to supplement Tier 1, which is our basic allotment. School districts generate a specified amount of state and local funds per student in what is called weighted average daily attendance. for each cent of tax effort above the local fund assignment. Let's take a minute. Weighted average daily attendance is figured out by first taking our Tier 1 entitlement, then subtracting our transportation allotment, our new facilities allotment, our high school allotment, and 50% of our cost of education index. The cost of education index is assigned to each district based on its size, the teacher salaries of neighboring districts, and the percentage of low-income students. Unfortunately, this hasn't been updated since 1989-1990 school year. Now this number is our adjusted Tier 1 allotment. This, divided by our basic allotment, equals our weighted average daily attendance. Attendance is still such a significant role in our funding, and you guys as teachers affect that funding and that attendance every single day with our students. Now let's get back to our Tier 2 funding, which is, if you remember, still a part of our operational funds. This is comprised of two parts. Level 1, which is the greater amount of one of the following, either Austin Independent School District's property wealth per student, or the amount of district revenue per weighted average daily attendance percent of tax effort for the level of guaranteed yield. The second part, level 2, is a fixed amount set by statute. Right now is $31.95 per weighted average daily attendance. Now we'll look at the second main component of our foundation school program, which is facilities funding. Districts must apply for facilities funding. The Texas Education Agency determines the maximum allotment based on an annual debt service payment or $250 per student in average daily attendance. Of course, we receive the lesser of the two. Other facility payments include a payment from the available school fund. This is money that is funded by the fuel tax and the permanent school fund. The amount a district receives is based on the previous year's average daily attendance. Additionally, there's some state aid for staff salary every year, $500 for each full-time non-administrator and $250 for each part-time non-administrator. I hope this helps you better understand how we are funded and where our school money comes from. It's easy to think we don't really play a role in funding. There are other factors. However, the quality of our instructional program and the relationships we build with our kids brings families and students to our school. The better we are, the more we can influence our funding through our students' attendance.